As the number and variety of VR shooters continues to grow, so does the need for a gun stock that is adaptable to those games, as well as your individual playstyle. And the Mamba EDC from KobraVR aims to do exactly that. In your traditional shooters like Onward, Pavlov, and Contractors, you would select your loadout, then set your gun stock to work with that loadout, and off you go. Newer games like Ghosts of Tabor and Contractors Showdown, however, have you constantly picking up and using new weapons, and oftentimes a gun you pick up off the ground doesn't line up with the way your gun stock is configured. While most gun stocks allow for some kind of adjustability, quite often to get a stock to work properly in a particular game, you also need to go to that game's physical gun stock calibration menu to really get things dialed in. In games like Ghosts of Tabor and Contractors Showdown, there simply isn't time for this during a match. You need to be able to pick up a weapon and be ready to fight, and this is what the Mamba EDC was designed to do. The main feature of the Mamba that sets it apart from other gun stocks out there is the hinge or elbow here in the middle that allows the shoulder stock to move up and down. This allows you to align your sights in game in a matter of seconds without ever having to visit a game's gun stock calibration menu. For anyone that's used a gun stock in VR before, you know how much they help increase stability, which greatly helps improve accuracy while aiming down sights, and increases the overall level of immersion while gaming. This new hinge feature on the Mamba gives you the ability to rapidly adapt to any game you're playing, which helps you to perform at your very best. To make this adjustment, KobraVR has included what they're calling their speed lock. You simply flip the lock up with your thumb, adjust the stock where your sights in-game are properly aligned, and then lock it back down. Like with anything, it does take practice to become proficient with, but it's something that is fairly easy to get the hang of. But this isn't the only way KobraVR has dreamed up the Mamba to be used. They've also included a rubber washer, which can be placed between the teeth of the hinge, creating what they call a soft lock. This allows you to adjust the angle of the shoulder stock even more quickly by placing the stock on your shoulder and pulling the stock down, or by placing it under your chin and pushing the stock up. The drawback to the soft lock is it doesn't allow for you to pull the stock tightly into your shoulder, since the hinge more easily moves up and down in this configuration. I'm not saying you can't pull it into your shoulder at all, you just have to be a little softer with it so you don't change the angle accidentally. For someone looking for even more speed when making adjustments though, this allows you to be insanely fast and still get 3 points of contact. And even though you can't pull the stock in really tight like you would a real firearm, the light pressure of the stock on your cheek, chin, or shoulder stabilizes your aim much more than if you were to just go two-handed with it. Now, of course, this isn't the only part of the Mamba that is adjustable. The rear shoulder stock can also be extended and retracted to simulate any gun you may be using in-game, or to simply fit you as comfortably as possible. To extend the shoulder stock, you simply pull it out to your desired length, and with the catch system KobraVR is using, it will not collapse back down until you hold down this release switch and slide it back forward. The front grip handle is also adjustable out to about an additional 1.5 inches or so. To adjust it, you need to hold down the barrel, which is actually a button, and that will release the lock holding the front grab in place, allowing you to adjust it where you'd like it. Now, I tested the Mamba in 8 different shooters, and I want to say that the spacing when the front is fully retracted like this is pretty much perfect for the vast majority of the guns that I used. And I used a lot of guns to really put this stock through its paces. There was only a couple guns I felt you really needed to extend the front grip handle out for the stock to best work with those guns. But generally speaking, you probably won't be needing to move this all that often. There is one other function this serves, and that is to remove the front grip handle so you can swap it out for the magnetic controller dock that also comes with the Mamba. The downside to this being fully removable like this is it does not have an arresting system like the shoulder stock does to prevent it from coming all the way out. But I guess that is the trade-off that had to be made to allow the front grab handle to be quick and easy to swap out like this. Other than the magnetic front controller dock, there are a few other accessories that do come with the Mamba. This here is the Quest 3 version, but we'll take a look at the Quest 2 version here in just a second. First off, we have that little rubber washer I talked about a little bit ago for the soft lock hinge option. Then, of course, we have the gunstock itself with the adjustable shoulder stock and front grab handle, and the magnetic front controller dock we were just looking at. There's the dock for your dominant hand controller and some little Velcro straps to secure your Quest 3 controller to the stock and prevent any accidental disconnections. I actually did all my playtesting without using these Velcro straps and never had a problem. The recess the dock fits into is fairly deep and the magnets are quite strong. Your controller stays pretty securely in place all the time. So I feel the Velcro isn't really needed, but it is nice to have included for anyone that may want that added little bit of security. Leaving the Velcro off, however, allows you to remove your right hand to cycle the bolt on a sniper rifle, among other things. But of course, if you're disconnecting both hands from the stock, then you're going to need a sling to keep it from falling to the floor, which is not something that comes stock with the Mamba, but can be purchased separately, and we'll talk about that a little later. When it comes to disconnecting your dominant hand controller, the dock detaches easily enough, but can be a bit tricky to dock back onto the stock due to the depth of the recess the dock needs to insert into. While doing my testing with the Mamba, there were times I was able to reconnect without a problem, and other times where I struggled a bit to get the dock in the correct position for it to reattach. This is something I'm sure I'll be able to get down as I use the stock more and build up the muscle memory for it. But as this is a review, it is something I feel I should point out. As for the last couple of things that come with the Mamba, KobraVR includes an Allen key for tightening up screws, as well as a small M4 wrench or spanner to help you assemble your Mamba, as there is a small amount of assembly required when you first get it. It also comes with a full set of assembly and use instructions, and this last little piece is a pistol hammer to replace the shoulder stock for when you're playing handgun focused games or game modes, or if you just prefer to use two-handed guns without the shoulder stock altogether. This part definitely makes the Mamba look sick when you're using handguns, but at the same time, to save yourself the hassle of removing and replacing your shoulder stock all the time, you can just retract the shoulder stock all the way and then drop the hinge to its lowest position, and in this configuration, I feel that this is fantastic when using handguns. Now switching over to the Quest 2 version of the Mamba, probably the biggest difference between the two is the mount for your dominant hand controller is fully integrated into the rest of the stock. It does not detach like the controller dock for the Quest 3 version, and that just comes down to the difference in the design of the controllers. Other than that, everything else is the same. You have the same hinge adjustment, the same shoulder stock adjustment, the same front grab handle, and a front magnetic dock. But of course designed for the Quest 2 controllers. Due to the difference in the design of the Quest 2 Mamba, there is no pistol hammer piece like the Quest 3 variant. To go without the shoulder stock on this guy, you'll simply undo this screw right here and disconnect the shoulder stock that way. KobraVR is also offering some optional upgrades for the Mamba. Most of them are for both the Quest 2 and Quest 3 variants, but there is one that is exclusive to the Quest 3. First is an upgraded larger buttstock with an adjustable cheek rest, which they say they'll be selling for 10 British pounds. And then there is a pump-action shotgun variant of the front grab handle for 18.5 pounds. This works by using a springed hinge and some magnets, allowing you to tip your front controller back like so to cycle from one shell to the next. Yes, you can do this same movement with the magnetic front dock when you're using the pump shotgun, but if you're like me and prefer using the front grab handle rather than the magnetic dock, then this upgrade is a very fun one to have. KobraVR is also offering a display stand so you can show off your Mamba to your friends and family for 10 pounds. And finally, we have our Quest 3 exclusive upgrade, which is this shoulder sling. It helps prevent your stock from falling to the floor should you decide to remove your dominant hand controller to cycle bolts and sniper rifles, or to use handguns or throw grenades or whatnot. Included with the sling is a little metal D-ring, which fits into a slot on the hinge of the Mamba and is secured in place with an included M3 screw. As for the Mamba gun stocks themselves, KobraVR is selling them for £65, and they'll be offered in both right and left-handed configurations. You can check out the Mamba and all its accessories on KobraVR's store, which I will link in the video description, as well as in a pinned comment on this video. One other optional accessory KobraVR is trying out on their store are some Quest 3 grip straps. The official active straps from Meta cost $40 US. KobraVR is selling some grips that are very similar to the official Meta grips for only 12.5 pounds, which is a little less than $20 US. In the past, KobraVR made their stocks compatible with these silicone-style grip straps, but all their newer stocks have only been compatible with the straps that replace the battery covers on the Quest controllers, which is what these are. And for anyone using a gun stock, I strongly recommend using grip straps because they make wielding a stock much more intuitive and immersive. A few things I ran into while using the Mamba that I feel are worth sharing is in Onward, the Mamba is the first gun stock I've used that I've been able to configure to work properly with the P90 in that game. Usually I have to hold the stock as if I'm hip firing the P90 in Onward to be able to aim down sights, but the Mamba is able to be adjusted where I can still pull the stock into my shoulder and be on target. It looks kind of funky out of the headset in this configuration, but what the stock looks like while you're in VR really doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the same can't be said of the P90 in Pavlov, as your front hand is a little too far out in front to work with the P90 in that game. But other than that, the Mamba worked fantastically with every other gun I tried it with, and I tried it with a lot of different guns in the 8 games I tested it with. And for those who are curious, those games were Onward, Contractors, Contractors Showdown, Pavlov, Breachers, Veil VR, Clay Hunt VR, and Ghosts of Tabor. One thing I feel is important to mention about using the Mamba in Ghosts of Tabor, or any gun stock for that matter, is there's an option buried in the settings called Janky Aim Fix, and this is something you'll want to turn on in that game. Until I turned that option on, I was unable to use a gun stock with any guns that have a traditional rifle-style grip. Rifles with pistol-style grips like the M4 and others worked fine, but rifles like the SKS and the lever-action rifle were completely unusable. In order to grab the front of those guns, I had to press the grip button on my controller several inches below the Mamba's front grab handle, so having a physical gun stock in that situation was of no benefit. Turning on the Janky Aim Fix option in the settings, though, fixed this, where I was able to use the Mamba with any gun in the game without a problem. And one final piece of advice I'd like to add when using the Quest 3 version of the Mamba is to keep your trigger hand thumb on the thumbstick or off the face of the controller completely. If you happen to have big thumbs like me, you can block the tracking LEDs on the controller this way and lose tracking, making it very difficult to aim. As for my final thoughts on the Mamba, first of all, this thing is super sexy looking. With this padded portion here on the buttstock, along with everything else it's got going on, in my opinion, this is KobraVR's most polished looking gun stock to date. And thanks to the hinge, it is also their most versatile and adaptable gun stock ever. I have to say, after using the Mamba for several weeks, I went back to the Maglock Ultra for a bit, another fantastic gun stock by the way, and almost immediately I missed the hinge on the Mamba. I was playing a game of Contractors and had selected the M1 Garand, and to be able to properly aim down sights, I had to adjust the cheek rest on the Ultra a little bit, and then had to calibrate for the M1 in Contractors settings. With the Mamba, all I needed to do was adjust the hinge, and I was ready to go. It's so simple and so quick after experiencing it. While I still love my other KobraVR gun stocks, the Mamba is just so good, I don't see myself using anything else anytime soon. Come on, do it. You know you want to. Subscribe.